Hi, I'm Kate.
And I'm Mandy, and this is Love Sober,
the podcast for the sober and sober curious.
Hi there, welcome back to Love Sober, the podcast for the sober and sober curious. And it's me today, Mandy, and I'm delighted to be welcomed by two guests today. So I've got Liz Mckean and Lois. Oh my goodness, Lois, I don't know your surname.
I'm
From the Phoenix team, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the Phoenix is a little bit later, and also their kind of sobriety journey. But we always start with a check-in. So we'll start with you, Liz. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. It's really an honor. I mean, I get really thrilled anytime I am able to have some FaceTime with Lois, just because we, work together, but from way across the ocean. So it's always so fun to see her, and thrilled to meet you. And the sun is shining where I am here, and just, it's another day. Lucky to be here.
Yeah. And you're in Tampa, Florida. Is that right?
I am. Yep. That's
very
correct.
nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And Lois, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, the sun isn't shining at the moment here, but it has been glorious the last few days, so it's all good. It's not Florida temperature, but
no, it's been chilly, hasn't it? So we're so British.
Yes.
It's like, and drop into the weather chat. Hasn't it been chilly?
Yes, exactly.
And you are just below London, that's right, isn't it? So Surrey based.
Yes, in Surrey. Yes. Yeah.
So we always start a little bit talking about your kind of journey to sobriety, and the tools and the things that helped you along the way. Obviously we have listeners. Some people are kind of starting out on their sober journey. Some people are sober now. Some people are just listening in to just have different perspectives, and we like to bring lots of different perspectives onto the podcast about what worked for you. So let's start with you, Liz. If you could tell me a little bit about your kind of journey to sobriety.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Well, like a lot of people, it was not a straight line. Certainly not without bumps in the road. I actually, funny enough, I didn't even have my first drink until I went away to college, which here is, I was probably 18 or 19. And but made up for lost time pretty quickly. And drinking was a really big part of my college experience. And then into my 20s, didn't see any reason to stop that. I had a lot of anxiety, and I was somebody who suffered from panic attacks. And I remember so clearly the first time I drank that it was like, oh, here it is. It's the answer. Like, this is how I'm going to feel better. This is how I want to feel forever and ever, which, big red flag should have gone off. But I still was able to have a lot of years of, still being very productive and successful-ish, had relationships and jobs and things like that. And it wasn't until quite a fefew years in that it started, like, cracks started to show. And I look back and I think like a lot of us do, that sooner than later I'd realize, like, oh, this isn't serving me, like I'm not living like the joyful life that I deserve. But I didn't, I had little stints of sobriety where I would have something terrible happen. I would damage a relationship, or I would lose a job, or would just realize I was feeling terrible all the time, and try to stop drinking for a day or two. Consequences kind of got worse and my bottoms got lower. And so I dabbled in 12-step programs, even had a little bit of a outpatient experience with treatment here, and just nothing really ever stuck. Like I always felt like sobriety, the thought of like giving up alcohol was a punishment. It was I was no longer going to be part of the party. I was going to lose out not only on the fun in life, but also the one thing that helped with anxiety, even though it was, making anxiety a lot worse. It just felt like I was giving something so huge up. And it wasn't until I found yoga and then the Phoenix community that shifted, that suddenly the thought of being sober was just more of a gift, more of a reward, like the invitation to a party instead of the door shutting on the party. I I started doing yoga during like stints of sobriety and realized that I liked myself a little bit more when I was on the mat, and like would have moments of just taking deep breaths and doing a pose, and even just, Shavasana, which is lying on your back. It's everybody's favorite pose. That I would just have this like little light shining through in a way that I had not had ever before sober. That was one of the first moments that I felt like maybe this is something that I can choose to do, that could actually be a choice that I want to make, and not one that I'm being forced to make. And when I found the Phoenix, I kind of stumbled across the Phoenix on somebody on Instagram was posting pictures of themselves doing workouts, and folks wearing shirts that said sober and high-fiving, and just like really happy people that were proud of being in recovery. And here I was just like cowering in the corner, just so full of shame for the fact that I had this problem. And I tried it out. I went to this workout. It happened to be a CrossFit workout, the first one that I did. And it was exactly that. It was just these people that were full of joy in sobriety. And that wasn't the focus of their life. Like, they were happy to be sober and would talk about it, but they had all these other fun things that they were doing. And they had this community of people that were just supporting each other. And it just completely shifted my perception of what a sober life could look like. And I know we're going to talk more about the Phoenix later, but just that was really the turning point for me, when suddenly I realized that I could have fun, and I could have friends, and I could be proud of the person that I am as a sober person. And that allowed me to just continue on that recovery path, and the rest is, I suppose, history.
Yeah. Thank you. And I appreciate sort of hearing that, and it's exciting. Like, I was grinning, Lois grinning. It's so nice just to have conversations where it's that switch to a joyful place, really, and being like something that I can choose, and something that is empowering, and something that is, it's not like that I'm labeled with something for the rest of my life. It's like, this is something that gives me so much. We talk quite a lot about yoga on the podcast, because Kate is very much part of her sober toolkit. From a kind of, because as a teacher, what does it give people in recovery? How does it help, I suppose, from a kind of physiological perspective, to do a yoga practice?
Yeah, that's a great question. Physiologically, I wish I had more sciencey things to say, but I'm just going to say what I know, which is, I know it actually does make shifts in your brain, and there's chemicals that actually change and are released that allow some of that, dopamine and serotonin, all those happy chemicals. When you are just like taking big, full breaths, when you do give yourself permission to just lean into what feels good. And for me, and my goal every time I'm teaching a class, it's not to get into like the deepest pose and to, have the coolest Instagram shot, but really just to take the opportunity to claim time for yourself, whether that means you're just sitting and breathing and spending time with yourself, like as a person who's worth spending time with, being present, or stretching and, finding the cool pose that actually feels good in your body, and finding a way to make the pose work for you. And like, something about that allows you to see that you deserve to feel good in the moment, like in whether it's the pose or the next breath. For me, yoga is just like a big divine permission slip to just be present and seek out what's going to feel good, what's going to feel safe. And I think the best teachers I've had are the ones that really are able to extend that invitation in a way that that you can accept, even when you're not totally convinced on the inside that you deserve it, because that's where I was for a really long time, and still am, every other Thursday, depends on the week, how I'm feeling. But I think that's the gift that it gives to me. And that's the gift that I see it give to other people who are working towards recovery, is just like having those moments of just liking themselves and allowing themselves to just feel good, whatever that means for them.
Oh, I love that, and I really like that kind of switch on it in terms of that, the self-esteem piece and the self-compassion piece of just being able to, the permission slip, which is, so much of a lot of people's story is like, for whatever reason, they've been so busy, or they've been putting people's needs above their own, or they've forgotten what needs are, or, for the traumas and all the things, that kind of gentle allowance just to be with yourself, I think, is a really nice, encouraging way to look at yoga as well, because I think it can feel intimidating for some people too. Certainly I still have a bit of like, imposter syndrome, sort of like shuffling in at the back.
Same.
But and obviously sort of for your nervous system, for your kind of, the way that you feel, all of those things are being helped by breathing and taking time and lying down. So Lois, a little bit about your story, if you don't mind, and then how you found the Phoenix and your journey to the work that you're doing now.
Yes. Hi. So I'm a little bit different to Liz. So, I came from Belfast, Northern Ireland, and I don't want to sort of really big up the stereotype, but there was a lot of drinking in my family and my culture. It's a big part of life in Ireland. They're famous for the pubs. And really, I think we used alcohol in the family, in the culture, to to escape and to deal with any issues that we were having. No one ever talked about anything, it was just you pour a drink. And so I didn't really break the mold at all. And I probably started drinking in my teens, and didn't really see, the idea of having a life without alcohol was just, it was just inconceivable. It's just not what you did. No one did that unless you're extremely religious, which, my family weren't. And it just seemed like it would never really happen. And I think I used it as a crutch for an awful long time, until probably about maybe 5-6 years ago. And things were just getting too much. And I could see that it wasn't helping me at all. In fact, it was making everything so much worse. And I was sort of forced into seeking help. And I went to, I had psychotherapy for about 6 years. And that really helped me understand what was behind the drinking, what was behind the addiction, all the things that was my, drinking, I was trying to deal with, like you say, anxiety, fear of just being with people, or even speaking or being seen, or any of those things. And I think then I dealt with those sort of mental health issues. I wouldn't say I fully dealt with them, but a hell of a lot better. And then in order to stop drinking, I didn't join any groups. I listened to podcasts, read books. I had some hypnotherapy, and then I found the Phoenix, and started volunteering for the Phoenix, teaching yoga. And that's been my community, really. Although it's across the pond in the US, I've just learned so much, and I've met so many incredible people. And that's really the goal, is to just increase that. I would have loved to have a journey like Liz's, where I could meet some people. And I love the motto that, what is it? Stronger than stigma. That's just fantastic. If we could make this thing, if we take the stigma, the shame and the guilt, and actually make it something that is joyful, that we really look forward to getting together, and it's, there is also strength in numbers in a community, and it's something more to be proud of, because actually the people that I've met at the Phoenix, they're the best people that I've come across, the people who have gone through something like this and are dealing with it, and are just a fantastic inspiration. So the goal is to, bring it over to the UK and then the world.
And you gave me goosebumps with stronger than stigma. I haven't heard that one before, but it's really powerful. And I think what I loved about kind of finding out about, the Phoenix, because obviously, you know, Love Sober, we have our own community. You know, both Kate and I are She Recovers coaches. So we have the She Recovers community, which we're connected with. You know, both Kate and I started our journey in Soberistas, which is another community online, you know. And when you're drinking and when you're in that place, you feel so incredibly alone, and like you're the only person that, and you know, everything's going to fall apart, and you know, that utter feeling of loneliness. And now I just discover another community which has got, I don't know how many thousands of people that are in
We've
the
reached close to 80,000
you know, it's
since
just,
we started.
it's just fantastic, you know. And it makes me so happy and so excited, because you know, and we often say on the podcast, it's like, if we're not your fit, that's fine, you know, but just go out there and find your people, and you will find your people, and you will find that community that will open their arms to you and hold you, you know. And you're holding Lois in the UK and giving her community. And a lot of my, you know, because I went back and forth, and as you say, nothing was linear about the journey. And a lot of my friends were in the US, you know, that I met through Instagram, that were members of She Recovers, and they were my, you know, and I was in France. I still don't, you know, have two sober friends in France, but I've been here 15 years, so you know. It's taken a little bit of work there, but yeah, you know, and it's just really, really exciting to be able to share that with people and share, you know, what the Phoenix does. So Liz, you're a yoga teacher, person in recovery. You live in Tampa, Florida with your husband, rescue dogs. I've got a rescue dog as well, and cats. And your current role is the National Virtual Program Manager for the Phoenix. So Liz helps bring the sober, active community to people across the country and beyond through live streaming events such as fitness, yoga, meditation, and social gatherings. And she also teaches yoga in her community in her local treatment center. And there's nothing she'd rather do than work for and with people in and seeking recovery. So yeah, tell me a little bit about the structure of the Phoenix. How does it work? Who set it up? A little bit about the background, if you may.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, and I have to just kind of preface by saying that the hardest thing about telling people about the Phoenix, the hardest thing is having people believe that it's not too good to be true. Like, it is that good, and it is that true. Like, it's just, it blows my mind every single day, this community and everything that this community has done. And so we call ourselves a sober, active community. When we started, and I say we, I wasn't around at the inception, but Scott Strode and Jackie Hilios are our founders, and they started us really very fitness based. So it was Scott started at a boxing gym, and that's really was his path into sobriety, and realized just the power of fitness. Because it brings you to community, it strengthens you, you know, mind, body, and spirit. And so we were very fitness focused. We even had brick and mortar gyms was our primary, well, a gym was our primary thing that we were doing. And as the years have gone on, fitness has continued to be a core part of what we do. But we realize that the power is in the community. You know, we're stronger together, and community, really, we just need a vehicle to get there. So for a lot of people, that's fitness, but not for everybody. You know, there's folks that are going to be like, CrossFit gym. I mean, not that CrossFit's the only thing, but that's going to be something that somebody's, heck no, you know. But maybe that person is an artist. Maybe that person is a nature lover. Maybe that person is a songwriter, you know, something like that. And whatever, as long as there is an event or an activity that is meaningful to someone, that can be a vehicle to community, that's Phoenix. So Phoenix is just anything that brings community together. So we have events, classes, they have a lot of names, all over the country and starting to be beyond, as well as online, that are free. Everything that we offer is totally free. The only price is 48 hours of sobriety. which is in place to keep everybody safe. That doesn't mean that everybody that is part of Phoenix has to identify as being in recovery. One of the ways we break down stigma is by opening the doors to folks who are supporting people in recovery, people who are doing the sober thing just because it's an awesome thing, people who are sober curious. Really, we'd like to say that the Phoenix is for anyone impacted by substance use, which, I mean, I challenge you to search far and wide for somebody who's not, you know. And that's the way that community can come together, and the stigma can start to be broken down, because, you know, when you have people who are recovering at all different levels in all different ways, when you have people who are, you know, family members, friends, neighbors of people recovering, and they all get together and see like how strong they can be together, whether you're at a boxing gym or you're doing a nature walk or you're in a book club, it really just allows us to just see ourselves in one another and just grow and support each other. And we're a peer-to-peer based organization. So there's not like a hierarchy, you know. Certainly if I'm leading a yoga class, people are generally doing the things that I'm saying to do, but even that is just all suggestions, and it's just all support on the same level. We support all pathways to recovery. So nobody at the Phoenix is ever going to tell you this is how you need to find sobriety. It's always going to be like, whatever you're doing that's working, keep doing it. Phoenix can just be whatever part of your journey it wants to be. And we're just honored to be that part. And we honestly, like, we're so led by the people that are in the community. We're hugely volunteer run, a lot of our events. So folks all over the place that just are like, I want Phoenix here. You know, Lois said, I want Phoenix here, and just raised a flag in the UK, and suddenly, you know, there we are. Because we have this virtual capability now, we really can support people anywhere where there's internet. And if people want to be volunteers and like create in-person programming in their community, that's something that we can help someone to do and to build. So it's not like, oh, Phoenix isn't available to me because it's not here. It's like, if you want it and you want to do it, then go for it. And sometimes that doesn't even mean you have to lead an event yourself. Sometimes that means you call your friend who can, or you call your local gym to see if they want to host something. So there's just a million ways to, I'm using so much of Scott Strode, our founder's language, but to raise that Phoenix flag and just start that community. And it's just the most powerful thing I've ever been part of. And I can't even, the fact that I'm a person who can go on a podcast and speak publicly about the fact that I'm in recovery with pride is just like, I can't even tell you what a miracle that is. And I really credit a lot of that to this organization and this community.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it's interesting what you said at the beginning of like people, you know, not believing it's too good to be true or something. Like I was a little bit like that. I was like, sorry, what? It's free? Where's the catch? You know, like scrolling through, like it's free, but where, you know, how does this work? So I guess you get a lot of funding sort of support, you know, to keep events free.
Yep. We have grants. We're funded by, you know, we have a development department in our organization that writes for grants. We have a few partners that help us with funding. We have partners in pretty much every community, whether they're donating, we always say time, talent, or treasure. So either they're donating their space or their time, or they're being generous with their money. We have peer-to-peer fundraising that we do every year. So it's totally, you know, up to the individual if you want to donate to the Phoenix, but there's no pressure ever to do that. I always tell people that the best way to support us as an individual is to come, is to show up, because that's how we can go out and seek funding, is to show impact. Be like, look at all these people that are doing this cool thing. And then, you know, folks that can are able to provide that funding. So just sign up for something and show up, and you have supported the Phoenix.
Oh yeah. And Lois, tell me how did you get involved?
So I think I read about it different, I can't remember where exactly, but I read about it a couple of times and just thought, that's such a brilliant idea. I mean, that's just so amazing. I wish that was over here. And then I think I emailed and said, you know, I'd love to teach. And then I did a trial, and then I was volunteering for over a year. And I just find it to be so inclusive. And, you know, as Liz said, you know, it's there's no hierarchy. It's like everyone is valued. And it's just such, I love the philosophy and just how welcoming and warm it is. There are no barriers between people. It's just a really lovely community. So yeah.
And so you're a trained yoga teacher and personal trainer. So is that something that you've always done, or did that come after sobriety, or how has exercise sort of been a part of your sobriety journey?
So exercise was a big thing. I did notice, even whenever I was drinking, that exercise still made me feel better. And it was almost actually, in a way, initially, you know, I would be drinking, and then the next day it's like, you know, I'm going to make up for that, and I'm going to go and exercise. You know, it's sort of yin yang, I guess. And although I don't think it was really helping as much as I thought it was. And then I guess whenever I did become sober, then I realized that this is something that really does give me the feelings that alcohol never did. You know, it gives me those endorphins, and there's no downside to it, really. You know, there's just feeling good. There's just, and I noticed the days whenever I did exercise and whenever I didn't, and how I felt about myself, and just how I felt. You know, I didn't get those endorphins. I didn't feel quite as confident, etc. And yeah, so I was exercising quite a lot, but I find that the exercising I was doing was almost punishing. It was like, I'm going to push myself, you know. And you know, I had been doing yoga as well, but I'd never really sort of fully got yoga, and I didn't really connect to it too much until I think I read a few books about it, and one of the books was The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk,
yeah.
That's it, yes. And I think at the end, you know, he really talked about yoga and about how incredible it is. And I thought, yeah, I need to look into this a lot deeper. And so I went off and did my course, and then I just find it so rewarding. You know, we've talked before, the whole the history, the philosophy, you know, the connecting to your body and actually listening to your body and listening to what it needs and what it's telling you, because you know, our emotions come up. And, you know, previously with alcohol, I just threw alcohol at it and tried to stop these emotions that I couldn't quite understand, but actually listening to them, what they're saying, and connecting to them and understanding that maybe they're trying to tell me something is just so powerful. And yeah, I think there is so much in yoga. And I think science is really just catching up with, you know, all of this stuff that's been around for thousands of years. Yeah, so I think it has helped me massively.
I think, yeah, I mean, we've been talking about that quite a lot recently, about kind of how old wisdoms and new science are finally kind of coming together, you know, and it's like we knew all these things, you know, and now the difficulty is trying to kind of come back to the essence of things that make us happy, that are rewarding, that, you know, that connect us when we live in such a kind of, you know, modern, hectic, fast-paced world, you know. So it's kind of the essence of all those things are what we need really is, you know, to connect with nature, to be with people that we have meaningful connections with, you know, look after ourselves, and, you know, watch our stress levels, and, you know, look at the sunshine, and, you know, and yeah, and breathe and rest.
Yeah.
You know, I think as we're working as a coach, you know, I think it's like permission to pause. It's just like, okay, what can you take off the list? You know, how can you calm down? Like, how can you rest? So what, apart from exercise, what else is in your sort of self-care practices? So I'll start with you, Liz.
Sure. Yeah, and I want to just say I so agree with everything that you both said about. I love to think that yoga is like the place where I was able to show my body that I was a person worth trusting. Like, so those signals started to make sense again, you know, and that translates into every other part of life. You know, it's amazing how much you're able to just know what you need. So anyways, I'm sorry, I got too excited about
Yeah,
yoga talk.
I love that. Yeah.
So aside from exercise, I love doing and teaching yoga. I also, I know you mentioned before animals, like I am just a big, huge pile of mush around animals. So I could spend all day just snuggling with my dog and cats if I have the opportunity. I am an avid podcast listener. I love podcasts. I love reading. It's amazing how much joy that I can get out of just absorbing brilliant things that people have said. And I'm surrounded by Post-it notes at all times of, little quotes and everything that are meaningful to me. So just the world is just opened up, ever since recovery. And it's pretty incredible to see all the cool things and cool people that are out there.
And you, Lois, what's in your kind of sober toolkit?
I think we probably connected with this before, and I really love the sea, and I love being near the sea. I think that's a massive thing. Being in nature anyway. I try to be in nature every day. And again, I've got 2 dogs, and so they force me out into nature every day, which is just lovely, no matter what the weather. And I think what's really lovely about being sober is you start to know what you like and what you enjoy. And before that, I don't think I did. I didn't know. It would be kind of, I would sort of, if someone asked me if I liked something, I would say, do you? I didn't quite understand that, I just went along with whatever anybody else liked or did, but yeah, really getting to know yourself and know, actually, I really love this, and I actually don't really like that. That's a great thing. But yes, also reading. I'm a massive reader as well. Yeah.
And I think that's part of where community comes into it, doesn't it? Because it's pretty intimidating. I mean, certainly for me, when I kind of, I've been a party girl, I've been drinking, ever since I was 13, 14, being in the rave scene and, going to parties, that was my life. And it's like, well, if I don't do that, then literally I have no idea what I like or what I want to do, or, and so when you're held in a community where you can kind of get that inspiration from different people, but also the encouragement, because I still struggle with anxiety, and I still struggle with that, fear response of like, why, I'd love to do that, but I don't know how to get there, and that's that, as you say, that, when someone's got a book club, or someone's got, a yoga class or something, and you feel that connection, it's like, okay, well, if they can do it, maybe I can. And there's that reciprocal kind of belief system that builds when you're within a community of going, okay, well, she went paddleboarding, maybe I can do that kind of thing, and seeing people's progress and going, wow, they went through all that and now they're doing that, like, surely it opens up possibility, I think, in a way which I definitely didn't. Like, alcohol made everything very narrow. It's just like, what do you do? Go to the bar. What do you do? Get wrecked. What do you do? Go to a party. And that's it. Go to a dinner party.
What else do people do, right?
Yeah, and again, like, I think people fear that a lot, and sort of listening to the podcast, it's like, when you're surrounded by people that still drink and still are doing those things, it can feel incredibly intimidating to think, like, really, am I going to step out of everything I know and do something different? Which is, again, why we're such advocates for community spaces, because it's that safe space, isn't it? It's that safe space to find your feet again and go, oh, you know what, and test it out. That's what's exciting. It's like, oh, maybe I don't like paddleboarding, but I'll give it a go. I mean, when Kate got sober, she started tap dancing. Didn't last very long, but she gave it a go. And so yeah, tell me about what are the plans and the projects that you have coming up for the Phoenix? And especially, obviously, we're based in the UK, so how can people get involved? What have you got going on?
Yeah. Well, one of the cool things that I love about the Phoenix is the element of choice. And I think just everything that you said is just exactly that. It's like that empowerment to find the things that you enjoy, and then also have that permission slip within to try things and then abandon them, and then be like you said, like, I don't like paddleboarding, I'm never going to do that again. But like, it's a safe space, even just within your own head, to be like, I'm going to try this. And then if it's not me, then it's okay to walk out, like that. I was able to enjoy yoga more when I realized that, like, hey, if I don't like this class, I can leave the room. And then suddenly it's like, I can be calm here because I'm choosing to be here. And if I want to leave, I can. So I love that about Phoenix spaces. Well, as far as I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing on a bigger level, and then I'll let Lois talk about some of what she's got coming up. We're just constantly growing. The coolest thing that we have that just came out, that also just became available internationally, is our app. We've got the Phoenix app. So you can literally look up the Phoenix. I think if you look up like the Phoenix Sober Active, then that'll come up the quickest. But you can also just look up Phoenix. And when you see our logo, which, you can't see me pointing because this is a podcast, but I'm sure it'll be somewhere.
Yeah, we'll put the logo on the image, for the podcast.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that is a really cool thing, because you can sign up and join our virtual classes straight from the app. You can also join virtual communities in there. You can connect with people one-on-one, but you can also join groups. There's like interest-based groups. There's also location-based groups. I don't think we have any outside of the US as far as location-based groups yet, but that's something we can easily add as soon as we, start seeing folks outside of the US join. And then you can just connect with people. Like like you said before, it's so isolating, when you're going through addiction and even early recovery. It's easy to like listen to that voice in your head that says you're alone. So to have something in your pocket on your phone where you can just have all these people that can just talk to you is incredible. So that's something I would definitely recommend, if anyone has space on their phone to download. And on the virtual platform, we are just continuing to add classes. Our volunteer program continues to grow. So if you wanted to get involved in that way, our website is thephoenix.org, which I'm sure will be in the show notes. I sound so fancy saying that. And you can go to there's like a volunteer section, and we have a portal that walks you through if somebody reaches out. We're still kind of growing that capability outside of the US. So the process might go slightly slower, but it'll happen. And it's something that is the way we are going to grow, and we're excited to. But the fastest and easiest and most impactful way to get started as part of this community is just to join something, just go to a class. We even have pre-recorded stuff. If you don't even want to show up for something in person, that's totally okay. But yeah, just check out the website, check out the app, and find a corner of the Phoenix that feels good to you.
Yeah. And Lois, tell us a little bit, because you did something for New Year, I believe, but that's past. Is that right?
Yeah, so I did a class on New Year's Day. I think it was at 9:30, and so that was nice. We had a few people from the UK join. It was actually, whenever I first clicked, I thought, am I going to be alone here? But no, we had. I can't remember. I think it was maybe 7 or 8, which was great because we hadn't done an awful lot of marketing or telling people about it. So that was great. It was really positive. And then I think the next plan is to roll out some classes in February for probably about 2 months, see how they go. So thinking about a time that will suit most people in the UK. So thinking possibly a Sunday morning, not too early, might work. So any ideas on that, please let me know. But I think maybe, not too early on Sunday morning could work for people. And then just to see how that goes and how it picks up and who joins, and then, really hoping that it will grow from there. That's the plan.
Yeah. And obviously, we'll share and with our community, and the links of when that's happening, put it on the newsletter and things like that. So and I think something that is definitely developing. Well, the UK and the US have taken really different approaches, I think. The US, it came from obviously, the 12-step background, and, it was quite meeting heavy, which was which was, you know, has had a huge impact, whereas the UK kind of sober movement has been very much more around events and around kind of, you know, changing the way that we see drinking in the UK, which has had another impact. And so now it's kind of, shifting around, I was saying, because, you know, over in the US, you're getting much more kind of alcohol-free options for drinks, and the kind of social side is growing. And I think we still lack a little bit of those kind of social groups, local social groups, local kind of meetups, meetings, things like that. And it's something that we've been talking with various different sort of sober communities about how we can develop that and grow funding for that. And again, it's always the thing, isn't it? It's the finances. We have big plans, but, you know, the finances are always difficult. But, you know, what I love about kind of connecting people is that we all have the same mission. You know, we all just want to help people, and just, you know, as you said in the bio, share your story. And so that people know that, like, we get it, you know, we get it, that it seems scary and it seems intimidating, and, you know, there's big questions around stigma, you know, and the more that we can do just to talk honestly and openly, the less shame and stigma there'll be, you know. So we always finish the podcast with 2 questions. So a tip of the day, so one sort of piece of advice or a tip, and your reason to love being sober. So what's one thing which just gives you a lot of joy, gratitude about your choice to be sober? So Lois, let's start with you. So do you have a tip of the day and your reason to love being sober?
So I guess my tip is, it sounds really corny, but it's genuine self-love. And I say that because I spent so many years actually really disliking myself. And whenever you remove that, it's like, that's such a big barrier to be working around, this sort of almost self-hatred, actually. Every time I looked in the mirror, it held me back so much. And whenever I freed myself from that, you know, it was an amazing thing. And so that would be one thing that I try to teach in my classes as much as I can in my meditations, is self-love, because, you know, that's the best thing you can do for yourself. And the reasons to love being sober are just like, they're almost too many to list. But I would definitely say health and happiness, continual growth and continual learning, and genuine connection. Those are the big things for me.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. And Liz?
Well, that's a hard one to follow. That was really good. Well, I'll say ditto, and I'll try to add my little thing. Well, my tip of the day is the thing I have to remind myself of every single day is just to unclench your jaw. Yep. And to take a deep breath.
Right now, I'm clenched.
I know. We're all like, now
every time, right?
Doors, yeah.
Every time, yeah. And I find personally it helps me, like, especially like in the middle of the day, in those moments when it just feels really busy, and like whatever silly emails in front of me feels like the be all end all, is to just like take a moment and like sometimes I put my hands right over my heart and just like unclench my jaw and just take a deep, slow breath. And it's just like the birds are singing again and life is worth living again. And it's amazing. So give yourself that little gift if that sounds good. And then as far as gifts of sobriety, I echo Lois in that there's too many to even be able to list, but I'd say the one that I'm the most grateful for every day is just the people that I'm so lucky to meet. People in the recovery community are just the most deeply feeling, just incredible, brilliant people that I've ever been so lucky to know. And I just can't even believe how lucky I am to be part of this community. And, you know, from all over the world, we just have this shared experience and just this shared love for life, because when you've been to that scary place, you know, it is just a whole different experience to wake up every day. So to be able to connect with people in the recovery community, and then just like the people in my life that I was hiding from for a lot of years, is just the greatest gift that I'll never ever stop being excited about.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. It's been brilliant. And yeah, thanks. So all the information will be on the show notes. So do just give it a go, click on something that looks interesting, try a class. If you don't like it, you can leave and you can try another one. And just especially, we've got listeners all over the world, but if you're listening in Australia, get in contact, because maybe they need stuff to start over in Australia. If you're listening, in the UK, get in contact with Lois. We'll put her Instagram and we'll put everything on the details to kind of connect. And thank you so much for being here and the work that you do in the community. I really appreciate it. If you're immediately concerned about your drinking, please do reach out. You can reach out at hello@lovesober.com. Soberistas has an anonymous Ask the Doctor service that you can connect with. Go and see your GP. Reach out. You're not alone. And we'll see you next week for more chat. Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.